Hello, everyone, and welcome to English on Autopilot. In today's video, we're going to talk about why I moved to Spain. I'm not from Spain, I'm not Spanish, I'm American, and I grew up in Nevada. I grew up in Carson City, Nevada, in a small town, very, very small, in the United States. So, how did an American like me end up in Spain? Right now, I'm currently living in Madrid. Don't worry, there will be plenty of videos about me living here, about my life here, my life as a foreigner, living in a foreign country. We're going to talk about it, but not today. Today, we're going to talk about why I moved to Spain. So, when I was 21, I was living in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was in university. I was studying at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And while I was in college, I had a very specific plan. My plan was to go to law school. My plan was to become a lawyer. I was working at a law firm. I was studying political science, and I was ready to continue my life going to law school. But in my last year of college, also known as your senior year, your last year, the fourth year of university, I was a little lost. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, even though I thought I did. Ever since middle school, ever since I was about 11, 12 years old, I had my heart set on being a lawyer. So all of a sudden, what happened, right? What happened? As a lawyer, I thought it would be perfect. I would graduate college, right? I would finish the 4 years and I would immediately go to law school. In the United States, the way it works is after you receive your bachelor's degree, which is the name of the degree that you get when you finish college, I would go to law school, which is an additional 3 years of university, of specialized university, right? A very specific type of school just for law, which when you graduate that school, when you graduate from law school, you get your JD, your Juris Doctorate degree. After that, you must pass another exam, the bar exam, to become a lawyer, and you can start working. But I had already taken the exam to get into law school. You also have to take an exam just to get into law school, known as the LSAT, which is the Law School Admissions Test. I had taken it. I was planning on getting ready to apply to law schools, but I was a little sad. I was a little depressed in life. I didn't know what I wanted, even though I thought I did. One day, my dad came to Las Vegas to visit me, and when we were in the car, I was driving my car, and my dad explained that he sat next to a girl on the plane that was very nice, and he started talking to her. The girl explained that next year she was going to teach English in Spain. And when we had that conversation, I didn't think much of it. I thought, interesting. Good for her. That sounds exciting. But I kept thinking about it. That little conversation I had with my dad really got me thinking, why don't I do that? Why don't I do something like that? And there was something about Spain that really called my attention. And this comes from a book that I read when I was 15, which is Fiesta by Ernest Hemingway. In English, they changed the title. I'm going to make a video on that as well, on this novel, because it's very important in my life. But Fiesta is a book that changed my life. It's a book that I was really interested in, and it made me interested in Spanish culture. So, from there, I started to think, what if I did the same thing? What if I went to Spain? What if I taught English just for a year, just for 1 year? And then I could come back to the United States and start law school, right? So I started looking into programs because there's a few different programs that you can use to come and teach English in Spain. Finally, I was able to find one that worked great for me. I found it, and I still wasn't sure. So I called, got a lot of information. They told me about the program. They told me about life in Spain, and I thought, that sounds amazing. I already saw myself drinking coffee on a terrace, talking with my friends, taking a notebook with me everywhere, writing the next great American novel, just as Hemingway did, right? And then, all of a sudden, I took the leap. I went for it. I signed up for the program. I paid. I paid. And it was quite a bit of money, but I paid for it. And I started the course. But then something happened. COVID-19, the pandemic, happened. It occurred. It started right when I was finishing my senior year, right when I was starting to plan everything for Spain, and everything was on hold. I had to wait because not only was it not safe, also, if I was only going for 1 year, I wanted to experience it. I wanted to experience Spain to the maximum, right? I didn't want to have to stay inside. I wanted to go explore. I wanted to go to other cities because I knew I wanted to move here to Madrid, but I wanted to explore everything the country had to offer. So I waited 1 year working back in Las Vegas, working as a swim coach, working at the law firm, and then nothing really had changed. Everything was still closed down, especially in Spain, that handled the pandemic differently than the United States. Even though in the United States we were able to move around more, in Spain it wasn't the same. So I decided 1 more year, and I went back to college. I studied another degree, this time in English, and during the time I was getting very excited. I was ready to move. Finally, I saw this was the time. So I contacted the consulate, which is in San Francisco. That was the nearest consulate to where I was from, meaning I had to contact them by phone, over email, because it was quite far. It was a long drive, and going there in person didn't make sense when I could do it over the phone or through email, right? So I was messaging them, and they said, it's going to be very difficult to get a visa. You need to have all of these documents. I needed a background check. I needed my passport. Before this, I didn't even have a passport. Before I moved to Spain, I had never left the country. So the first step was the passport. When I got the passport, I was able to move on to the next steps. Finally, I sent everything to the consulate, but it wasn't done yet. They emailed me explaining that I needed to translate all of the documents. Of course, I needed all of the documents to be in Spanish. I had to hire an official translator, so they knew it was done correctly, right? And again, it was not cheap. No, it was not cheap. It was expensive, quite a bit of money, but I wanted to do it. So I got the documents translated, and they said, we will do our best, but we don't know. We don't know if you'll have your visa by September 1st, which is when the program in Spain started. I did the part at home, but now I also needed to do a part of the lessons here, where I practiced teaching. So I waited, and on my birthday, right on my birthday, I got an email in the morning explaining that my visa was ready to be picked up. Yes, finally. Oh, thank goodness. But, of course, it was in San Francisco. So I got in my car and I drove 4.5 hours to San Francisco to pick up my visa. I picked it up and I drove 4.5 hours back home. Now I have my visa. I'm ready. I'm legal. I can be in the country for 1 year. Excellent. But then I realized, oof, I need to do a few more things. I need to buy a plane ticket to fly to Spain. I looked online and I only had a couple of weeks before I needed to be there. So of course, the tickets, not cheap. No. Expensive. I got the cheapest I could find, which was San Francisco to Istanbul in Turkey, and Turkey to Madrid. Not the best, but I had to. I believe it was in total, about 19 hours of flying. But I did it. And so I bought it. Next, I needed a place to live. I needed a place to sleep. I needed a place to eat. Of course. So I went, and luckily I used a website to find an apartment. I found an apartment, and it's the apartment that I'm in right now. I'm still here, and it's excellent. It's a beautiful apartment. It's in a good neighborhood, very safe. And I have a beautiful view of the neighborhood. It's a lovely, lovely view, a balcony where I can stand and look at the view. It's excellent, and I'm very happy here. And I was lucky because not everyone has the same luck that I did. There's a lot of scams where people can take your money and they're not real. So you have to be careful. Be careful finding an apartment because there's people out there that aren't as nice as the people I live with. Be careful. And so eventually I was able to fly a few weeks later and move into my new apartment. My plan was to be here for 1 year, and after three weeks, maybe a month, I realized I was going to be here a lot longer than 1 year. And here I am, 2.5 years later. 2.5 years here in Spain. And now I know I don't want to leave. But you ask, what about law? What about law school? What happened to law school? Well, maybe you'll be getting a video about that because I have a feeling that I'll still be studying law. But in the United States, I don't think so. I think we're going to start law school here in Spain. So I'm not giving up on law school, but my plans changed. So let me know what you think. Have you ever moved to a new country? Put it in the comments below. Tell me if you've ever lived in a different country than where you're from. For me, I've only lived in Spain. I'm from the United States, so I've lived in one other country. Let me know, have you lived in 2, 3, 4? How many countries have you lived in? Do you enjoy living in a foreign country? Was it scary to move? For me, it was a little bit, but it was more exciting than scary. Please go ahead, like, put a thumbs up, subscribe, and to help me with this channel so I can continue to grow, so the channel can continue to grow and improve, think about donating. Below, I have the link to my PayPal as well as coffee. If you could buy a coffee, donate to the PayPal, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.